I hadn't meant to fall for her. In fact, I hadn't planned for any of this to happen at all. But that's the thing about love, it rarely shows up when you're expecting it, and it certainly doesn't always take the shape you've imagined. It all started one chilly autumn afternoon when my boyfriend, Marcus, invited me over to his family's house for dinner. I'd been dating Marcus for a little over a year, and although we'd had our ups and downs, I thought we were in a pretty good place. But that night, when I first laid eyes on his sister, Harper, everything changed. Harper was the complete opposite of Marcus, where he was serious, she was carefree, where he was methodical, she was spontaneous. With her dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a mischievous smile that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets, Harper was captivating in a way I couldn't quite explain. After that night, I started noticing Harper in a way that made me question everything. I'd always been drawn to her personality, she had this magnetic energy that made people gravitate toward her, but now there was something more, a lingering curiosity I couldn't shake. Then came the night of Marcus's birthday party. Harper and I had both volunteered to help set up, and as the evening wore on, the two of us found ourselves alone in the kitchen, filling glasses and arranging food. "So, you've been with Marcus for, what, a year now?" she asked, handing me a glass of wine with a teasing glint in her eye. "Yeah," I replied, a little nervous under her gaze. "Time flies, I guess." She chuckled, her laughter warm and inviting. "You don't sound too convinced." I shrugged, feeling a blush creep up my cheeks. "It's complicated." Harper raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Complicated, huh? I get it. Marcus isn't exactly an open book." I nodded, surprised at how easily I could confide in her. "It's like, he has this idea of what our relationship should be, but sometimes I feel like I don't quite fit into that." She reached over, resting a reassuring hand on mine. "You don't have to fit into anyone else's mold, you know?" Her touch was gentle, but it sent a spark through me that left me feeling unsteady. I looked up, meeting her eyes, and for a moment, the world seemed to slow down. Her gaze softened, and before I could fully process what was happening, she leaned in, her lips brushing mine in the lightest, most fleeting kiss. The kiss was soft, a barely there touch, but it was enough to set my heart racing. My mind went blank, and I could only focus on the warmth of her lips, the softness of her touch. When she pulled back, her cheeks flushed, her gaze was filled with an emotion I couldn't quite place. I shouldn't have done that," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I shook my head, feeling a strange mix of shock and longing. "No. I mean, We stood there in silence, the air thick with tension, until the sound of Marcus's laughter from the other room snapped us back to reality. Harper stepped back, biting her lip as she avoided my gaze. "We should get back to the party," she said softly. I nodded, unable to find the words to respond. But as I returned to the bustling crowd of friends and family, I couldn't shake the feeling of Harper's lips on mine, the warmth that had bloomed in my chest when she kissed me. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and excitement. I couldn't stop thinking about Harper, about the way her touch had made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. I found myself looking for excuses to see her, to be around her, and every stolen glance, every shared smile only made my feelings grow stronger. One evening, a week after the party, Harper texted me, asking if I wanted to grab a coffee. My heart skipped a beat, and before I could second-guess myself, I agreed. When I arrived at the cafe, Harper was already there, sitting by the window with 2 steaming cups of coffee. She looked up as I walked in, her smile brightening as she waved me over. I felt my cheeks flush, but I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face as I joined her. "Hey," she said, her voice soft and warm. "I'm glad you came." "Me too," I replied, my heart pounding as I took a seat across from her. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing, our conversation flowing easily as if we'd known each other our entire lives. As the evening wore on, the cafe began to empty, and the dim lighting cast a cozy glow over our corner of the room. At one point, Harper reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine, and I felt that same spark that had ignited during our kiss. She looked at me, her eyes searching, as if trying to gauge my reaction. I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I closed the distance between us, pressing my lips to hers. This kiss was different, no longer hesitant, but filled with a newfound confidence, a certainty that I couldn't ignore. Her lips were warm and soft, and as our kiss deepened, I felt a sense of rightness, as if this was where I was meant to be. When we finally pulled back, Harper looked at me with a shy smile, her cheeks flushed. I didn't expect. I smiled, feeling a mix of exhilaration and relief. Neither did I. But I'm glad it happened. From that moment on, Harper and I couldn't stay away from each other. We met in secret, stealing moments whenever we could, our connection growing stronger with each passing day. Every kiss, every touch only made me fall harder, and I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about love. One night, we found ourselves at her apartment, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine. She looked at me, her gaze intense, and reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. You know this can't last forever, right? She murmured, her voice tinged with sadness. I looked away, my heart sinking at the thought. I know, but I don't want to think about that right now. She smiled softly, pulling me into her arms. Then let's just enjoy the moment. We spent the night wrapped in each other's embrace, our kisses filled with a mix of passion and longing. As dawn broke, I lay beside her, my head resting on her chest as she traced gentle patterns along my back. I knew that our time together was limited, but in that moment, I didn't care. All I knew was that I loved her, and I was willing to fight for whatever time we had. As the weeks went on, Harper and I continued to see each other, our bond growing deeper despite the obstacles we faced. Eventually, I had to confront Marcus, to tell him the truth about my feelings. It was a difficult conversation, one filled with hurt and confusion, but in the end, I knew it was the right thing to do. Marcus was devastated, but he understood, and we parted ways on relatively good terms. Free from the secrecy and guilt, Harper and I were finally able to be together openly, and our love only grew stronger. Looking back on everything we'd been through, I realized that love isn't always straightforward or easy. Sometimes, it's messy and complicated, and it leads you down paths you never expected. But as I stood hand in hand with Harper, watching the sunset over the city, I knew that every challenge, every heartbreak had been worth it. Because in the end, I had found the person who truly understood me, who made me feel alive in a way I'd never felt before. And as we shared one last kiss under the fading light, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together. After that sunset moment with Harper, I thought the weight of our secrets had finally lifted. But love has a way of entangling even the best intentions. We still found ourselves sneaking glances across crowded rooms, brushing fingers under the table at family dinners, and sharing those stolen, electric kisses behind closed doors. Marcus had tried to move on, but his presence was still a shadow that loomed over us, reminding us of the past we'd left behind. Then, one rainy night, Harper invited me over to her apartment. The rain fell heavily as I made my way to her, each drop against my umbrella feeling like the steady beat of my own anxious heart. I reached her door, soaked and shivering, but the second she opened it, I felt that familiar warmth wash over me. Without a word, she pulled me inside, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders and ushering me to the couch. Her hands lingered on mine as she brushed away droplets from my face, her gaze intense. "Why is it that every time I see you, it feels like the first time?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rain outside. I leaned in, my heart racing, and before either of us could say another word, our lips met in a kiss that held the weight of everything we'd been through. Her hands slid up to my face, cradling me as her thumbs traced gentle lines along my cheeks. The kiss grew deeper, more intense, as if we were trying to memorize each other in case this moment was our last. Every touch, every brush of her lips against mine felt like a promise, an unspoken vow that neither of us could deny. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and flushed, she looked at me with a mixture of longing and vulnerability. "Claire, I know this hasn't been easy, but I can't keep pretending like you're just a fleeting moment in my life. You're so much more than that." Tears pricked at my eyes as I held her gaze. "I don't want to be anything less than forever with you, Harper." She smiled, her eyes softening, and leaned in to kiss me again, this time softer, slower, as if savoring every second. Her hands slid down to my waist, pulling me closer as our bodies pressed together, fitting perfectly like two halves of a whole. We spent the rest of the night lost in each other's arms, our kisses turning from playful and light to intense and passionate, each one a reminder of the love we'd fought so hard to keep. The room filled with the sound of our laughter, our whispered promises, and the steady rhythm of the rain outside. As dawn approached, we lay tangled together, her hand tracing gentle patterns along my arm. I turned to face her, brushing a strand of hair from her face as I pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "Let's stop hiding," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. "I want the world to know that I love you." Harper's eyes widened slightly, her lips curving into a slow, radiant smile. "Are you sure?" I nodded, feeling a wave of certainty wash over me. "Yes. I'm tired of sneaking around, of hiding how I feel. I want to be with you, openly and freely." She pulled me into another kiss, her hand sliding up to my hair as she deepened it, her breath mingling with mine. Each kiss felt like a confirmation, an affirmation of the love we'd both been too scared to admit to the world. Later that day, we met with Marcus to finally lay everything out in the open. He listened quietly, his expression unreadable, but by the end, he nodded, giving us his quiet blessing. The closure brought a sense of relief, and as we walked away, hand in hand, I felt lighter than I had in months. With Marcus's understanding, Harper and I were finally able to share our love freely. We went on dates, explored new places together, and introduced each other to our closest friends. Every moment felt like a fresh beginning, a chance to build a life we'd always wanted but had been too afraid to claim. One evening, as the sun set over the city skyline, we found ourselves back at the same cafe where we'd shared our first secret coffee date. Harper reached across the table, her fingers intertwining with mine as she smiled, her eyes filled with love and contentment. "Here's to all the kisses and all the memories yet to come," she murmured, lifting her cup in a toast. I smiled, my heart swelling with happiness as I lifted my cup to meet hers. "Here's to us, finally." And as we shared another kiss, surrounded by the gentle hum of life around us, I knew that no matter where life took us, we would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart.